Sirens, Slammers, and Service, a podcast for female first responders by female first responders. My name is Nikki Clucci, and I will be your host. As a former correctional officer in Alberta for almost 2 decades and the founder of Blue Line Fitness Testing, which provides law enforcement fitness testing and first responder wellness workshops, I started this podcast as a way for female first responders to share the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of their daily work. I want to showcase the unique perspectives, skill sets, and personalities that women bring to a first responder career and share their stories. So get ready to laugh your ass off, learn a whole bunch, and be inspired by some pretty badass women. Let's go. Welcome back, guys. Today I am so fucking pumped. This episode is going to be amazing. I am joined by not one, not two, not three, but four freaking badass first responders. And guess what? They're married to each other. Not all four. Yes, two are married to two and two are married to two. It's just the two couples, guys. Don't be getting all crazy thinking that. Today I am joined by Brett and Breanna and by Sandra and Michael. And we are going to talk about what it is like to be a couple that are first responders, either first responders that work in separate careers or first responders that do the exact same job and work together. So welcome, my friends. How are we today?
Doing great.
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad, you guys. Like I said, I've been pumped up about this episode all fucking day. Like all fucking day. I can't wait to do this. So I'm going to turn it over first to Brett and Breanna. Introduce yourselves. Tell our listeners who you are, where you work, and kind of just a quick synopsis of what you do.
Yeah, so we're Brett and Breanna Brandson. We are both AHS peace officers, and we work out of Central Zone, specifically Wetaskiwin Hospital. I've been a peace officer for just over 3 years, and
I'm just over 2 years now. I came in about a year after you did. We're both second in command on our team, so we're both in charge when our team leads aren't in charge. And I'm recently, or just starting into my position as a officer safety training instructor, which is just the role for training all of Alberta Health Services peace officers that are new recruits. They come to the 6-week CFOIB training. I'm one of the officer safety training instructors.
Awesome. And you're so fitted for it. Like when you told me you were applying for that, I was like, literally cannot think of anybody that would be better. So that's fantastic. And I will give a shout out. Brett and Breanna have been with Blue Line. So literally they met me when I was in the parking lots. When I was running in the parking lots, they were some of my first. They were out there in the parking lot, in the rain, running with me, doing amazing things. So that was awesome. And yeah, they just have stuck around and been amazing humans ever since. So that's fantastic. Love you guys. And my second amazing couple that I have on tonight, Sandra and Michael, hit me up. Who are you? What do you do? And a little brief kind of, what some of your responsibilities are.
I guess I'll start. My name is Sandra Maris, and I am a police officer. I'm a staff sergeant in the RCMP, and I've been with the RCMP for over 29, almost 30 years. I've been forever. And currently, my role is as in charge or supervising 5 forensic identification units throughout Northern Alberta.
My name is Michael Maris. I'm with Edmonton Fire. I'm a captain. I've been there over 18 years now. So I'm a junior captain. Yeah, I'm at our hazmat station. So I'm on take turns being the hazmat officer.
Crazy. I love it. So we have like brand new-ish, kind of into that law enforcement career. And then we've got like the salty old vets over there. And no, you guys aren't salty at all. You guys aren't
no, a little salty. It's all right.
Okay. And so then really quick, how long have you guys been married? So Brett and Breanna, how long have you been married?
Coming up on 5 years this year.
This year will be 5 years.
And then Sandra and Michael, how long have you guys been married? I love it. You're doing the math in your head. I can see it.
Yeah, I know. We've been married for 6, together for 12, 11, something like that.
Yes, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. And like I said, I love all 4 of you humans, like with a lot of my heart. Definitely. So let's break it down, because there are so many things that I've been thinking about when I was thinking about this podcast, just like working together, doing the same job, and like going to work, either like splitting shifts, like you go on, they go off, you're kind of waving at each other, saying goodbye as you go and they start, and like never seeing each other, or actually working, doing the same job at the same time with each other. Because I never, like, I mean, I love Kelly, I love my husband, but like, I don't think that I don't think that like, let's drive to work together, let's work all day together, let's drive home together. You know what? Nah, hard pass. I love you, baby, but no. Mama needs her own time. Mama needs her own time.
Yeah.
That's
So, oh no, sorry, go ahead, Brett.
no, I just said that's fair. And like, we don't actually work the same exact shifts together. Like we work cross shift to each other. So like when I'm on nights, Breanna's on days and vice versa. So we don't necessarily carpool together, but it works out in the benefit that we do cross shift with each other every day. Like we are each other's cross shift partners. So we get to do pass off, share what happened throughout the day, which is just standard work stuff. And we've kind of developed a boundary between our personal life and work life. Like we talk about work at work and we leave work at work when it comes to days off. And
And we get to take some calls together.
yeah, okay.
It has happened. When you want to talk about funny stories, we got some.
yes. I love story time.
But we work 4 on and 4 off. So, and we're 7 to 7. So we do our 4 days on and then our 4 days off we spend together. So we have our days off together and then we have our days on together, but we work opposites. So when I'm at work, Breanna's sleeping, and when Breanna's at work, I'm sleeping, which helps the animals, gives us interaction at work, being able to see each other every single day, but also it's really nice having a king size bed to yourself at the end of a long day.
And the animals really like it, right? Like they always have someone at home.
I was gonna say somebody's always at home, which is amazing. Yeah. So you guys, like, as I want to really break this dynamic down. So you guys are changing off each other. So basically, Brett's finishing off his shift, Brianna's coming on. You guys are doing shift changeover. Like, this is what happened. This is, whatever call. This is what still is left to be done. Et cetera, et cetera. How does that work when there's like leftover work from the day and like you didn't finish it and your like spouse is coming on? Because I feel like I would be like, what do you mean you didn't fucking do that? What do you mean you didn't finish that?
That's the boundary of work is work and home is home. So at work we are coworkers. So there's like glances, there's side eyes of like, you're gonna do that? Okay, that's fine. I'm going off shift now. Have a great night. But yeah, it does happen where like there'll be things that my team does that his teams is gonna do different. And it's about like the first year was kind of bumpy because it's like trying to figure out like, are we individuals? Are we coworkers? Are we married? And then like relaying what we've decided how to like approach things to our coworkers, because we also aren't alone in our office either. Like we have the same job, but there's also other employees that share our office for pass off as well. And so some people didn't even know we were married at the beginning because we were so strict on like work boundaries that they would realize like months after that we have this exact same name tag because we have first initial and last name and we're both B&B Brandson. They thought we were like brother and sister because it was just like, you're so good at being coworkers at work to keep it professional so that it's normal for everybody else too. So there's like certain times when like I'm doing something on days and I would like expect you would do the same thing because we're married. We're like the exact same people. And then in reality, that's not quite the reality of it. And so I'll do one of these, like, whatever. And then like, I'm going home, have a good shift. Like the good old classic side eye, but I mean, we figured it out.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, wanted to pop on here before we got into this next episode and let you know about a couple new rad ideas that we have for the podcast. So the first one is we have a survey up and I would love to know what you guys think about the show. I'd love your feedback. I'd love your ideas for the next season. And I'd just love to know what you like and what you dislike about the podcast. And I'm going to sweeten the deal with a $50 gift card randomly drawn from everybody that completes the survey. The survey is going to be in the show notes of all of our shows. So no matter what time you start listening to the podcast at, you'll get a chance to win that gift certificate. The second thing that we're bringing in now is the ability for you guys to leave us a voicemail. You guys can actually call into the show, leave us a voicemail, let us know what you think about the show. If you have a funny story you'd like to share from your time as a first responder, I would love those and showcase those on the show as well. So make sure you guys check out that voicemail feature. It's going to be in the show notes, and check out the survey. Make sure that you get that chance to win that gift certificate.
Yeah, we have a difference of opinion on handling specific situations. She's more of an empath, and I'm more of a, depending on the situation, like, well, I'm not dealing with that tonight. I'm going to send somebody else out there.
You're like, what do you mean you're not going to deal with this? Like, how do you not deal with this? So it's like the same thing you would deal with normal coworkers, where like you're still an individual trying to navigate your profession the way you would as an officer or whatever you're doing for like frontline. You still expect that everybody's going to deal with it, but you have to respect the fact that we're different people at work as well. So it's pretty interesting.
But it's also good in the dynamic. Like when we're at work, we'll spend 20-30 minutes after we're off the clock or whatever, just sitting in the office and chatting. For tougher days when you got to decompress and stuff like that, we usually use 20-30 minutes after our shifts to decompress, talk, and just whatever. If you got to vent about the day or whatever, we just take usually 15 to 30 minutes at the end of every shift and just kind of talk, whether it's about work or not about work. But we just,
there's also been times where like we have one dog, like, so we'll bring her to the office. Like I've had times where a hockey game's on and he's working and he'll text like, hey, it's slow, I'm back early. I can come on in, we can watch a hockey game in the office together, right? Like it's flexible that way for us, that we can still incorporate a little bit of like something that wouldn't be normal, right? Some personal time, and still have it be professional and job related. So we're very like super fortunate, and it's also very one-off. Like this is not normal. I have not yet met someone in our position yet. Like I have not met anybody. Podcasts, like I've never heard of it. So we're pretty fortunate, and we're pretty rare like that way. So
yeah, we had a few in the jail that would, but they were the same thing. They would do so we would call it the parking lot daycare, because they would pull up with their kid in the car seat to start afternoons, and the husband or wife would come out and get in the car, and then the one car went back and forth, right? And then different days off, because we do a 6 and 3, so it'd be the different days off that they would have, right? So I'm going to come back to you guys' days off together, because I think that that's also something that's pretty awesome, is that you actually get your days off together where you can actually spend time together. But I want to jump to Sandra and Mike, and just you guys, totally different jobs, totally different shifts, totally different, like literally completely different. And yet you guys are still making it work, and you're still finding time to be together when you're not seeing each other and things like that. So how does it work for you guys being in completely opposite realms?
Well, I think the first thing we really focus on is the quality of the time that we do get to spend together. You know, we could be together every single day. One person's downstairs in the gym and the other person's, you know, sitting reading a book. You're not actually spending the time together. Whereas so when we actually do have the time off, we try to do things together, and we've done physio date nights where both of us have booked our physiotherapist at the same time, so that, you know, we could be at least have a coffee and yell across the room at each other and say, hey, what are you doing?
Mock them as they're doing their like knee things, and they're
you know, and I think we really focus on that making the time off that we do get together count. Now that I'm more of a stable Monday to Friday person, he's really he's the shift worker. He's working nights but we're still juggling. Like we're still looking at the, you know,
but then like date night could be Wednesday if I've got a day off. So now all of a sudden Wednesday is now your Friday night. So you make it work.
Yeah, and you guys are super inventive on your like evenings out and your stuff out. I always see, I'm like, oh, they found this super cool restaurant. Like I'm not cool enough to go find these cool restaurants that these guys are going to, and like these little like boutique cafes and like the breweries. Also, Sandra and Mike know every fucking brewery in the city. So if you want to know where the good ones are, they have
We do.
vetted them. They have vetted them.
Not that we go drinking all the time.
No, not at
No,
all.
never.
We
Of course not.
we did-
But I,
We
you know, like, and on that topic, and it's kind of, you know, one thing that we've over the number of years together, we've come to understand that there's Christmas and there's first responder Christmas, and they're usually about a month or two apart.
Yes.
And like last year, I don't think we saw each other because I was on the road and got called out Christmas Day, and I was on the road for about 6 or 7 days, and
I worked
you were
Christmas.
working. So I don't think we even had New Year's or Christmas dinner until like towards the end of January. Like, but again, it's one of those things where we just made it count. We're well aware that our schedules are kind of crazy. So we just take that time and we make it count.
I think it's true too, though. Like first responder Christmas, any fucking holiday, like any holiday that you would like to take, it's like, okay, let's look ahead. Like even booking this podcast, I was like, hey guys, end of September. Hey guys, what do you think? Yeah, we got time in November. We have time in November. And I was like, okay, yeah, November, let's do it. And then even then, there was supposed to be another couple that was going to be on with us. Their schedule changed, so they couldn't make it. And it's like, okay, it is what it is. This is just we do things based on whatever the schedule is.
Absolutely.
And whatever we can make it work. But it is I will say, I even me, and Kelly's not a shift worker. Kelly's a Monday to Friday. It used to piss me off sometimes to like look at my schedule and be like, yes, in 6.6 months, I can do that. I can't do it before then because it just does not line up at any point in fucking time.
Exactly.
Does it ever line up right on the day at the time that I want to do it? So I'll do that in 6 months. Great. Perfect.
Exactly.
I can't even imagine trying to juggle 2 schedules like that and just being like, oh, okay.
Well, and as you know, Nikki, like you've experienced with us, you either get one or you get the other. Very rarely will you have both of us at an event.
Yes. It's so true. But the other good thing though about having a first responder spouse is you never have to explain where they are. Like you're just there. You come, I'm like, oh, Mike must be working. Mike comes, I'm like, oh, Sandra must be working. Like, okay, I know that I want to. And then if I hear that you're not there, I'm like, what do you mean they're not working and they're not here? What other thing was more important than the thing that we're at right now? And they're like, oh, it was this. I'm like, okay, I guess that's a little bit more important than what we're doing. Yes. Okay, so jumping back to Brett and Breanna. So let's go. So now you guys get your days off together. So how does that work? Because do you like, I mean, I guess you kind of have your own alone time because when you're home, the other person is not home. But do you ever get like annoyed that your person is there on all 4 of your days off? Because I think I would also get annoyed with that.
Actually, it's the contrary. I have more problems getting her unattached from me than I do otherwise. But we spend time together alone, if that makes any sense. Like we like to play games. We have our setups downstairs, and we'll both sit and do our own thing. And then just the occasional, just like glance over. It's like, hi, I'm still here. And then just continue doing your own thing. So we spend lots of our time doing that, but we also spend lots of time upstairs, like separately. Like I'll be in the kitchen cooking and then she'll be doing laundry, or while we have a show going. So we're both watching the show together while doing our separate things. So on our days off, we're not necessarily glued to the hip. Like we have our own things that we like to do, and we get to experience all of our own things on our own time.
Yeah. It's exactly what Sandra said. It's very intentional time. So even if we are together for the full 4 days, there's still things that I'll go out, right? There's still times where I want to have girls' days with my mom and grandma, or he'll want to go see his family alone. It's not always that we have to do everything together, but we actually are that weird couple where we do prefer it. So same thing, our massages, they're dual partner massages with 2, everything is done together intentionally, because when we're at work, even though we are seeing each other every day at work, it's very specifically devoted to work. Work days are for work. There's like very, very minimal family talk or personal life talk, unless there's like a concert or an event coming up, or our dog has something going on. But like other than that, like work days are work. So days off, it's okay to spend time together, because work time together feels very different, right? So yeah, but we have very similar hobbies. It's kind of why we married each other, I guess, right? We kind of like the same stuff, so we actually don't mind doing things together. But he's got online friends that are from all over the country and down in the States that he likes to, speak to online, and I'm okay with that. I have shows that I like that he doesn't like, and I like to nap, and he likes to game. So there's time spent alone for sure. But
That's good. I really like that, like how defined you guys have made the boundaries of like work has to stay at work and home has to stay at home. Because I think for anybody, any first responder, we blur that line quite a bit where we're like, yeah, work's going to stay at work and home's going to stay at home. And then you're like, not really. Work is really trickling into home because I'm thinking about the next thing I need to do the next day. Or, oh, I really hope that whoever took over on shift tonight, it had a good shift, or that guy, that asshole that we were dealing with today, didn't continue to be an asshole into the night. And I think
it still happens. We still do talk quite a bit about work at home, but it's different type of talk, right? Like we know that we are also coworkers, but we can also tell like when it's time to stop talking about it, or it's just hey, like I'm over it. Like I don't really give a shit what's going on at work right now, or hey, can we talk about work because it's really bothering me? And so it's nice that way because we understand more, and I can only understand you guys understand that as well, right? Like we're all responding firsthand to situations, so there's going to be times where we have to bring it home, right, and decompress a little bit more than average people, right?
Yeah.
But we have good boundaries. We speak the boundaries out pretty clearly, and it's pretty obvious. Like I'm no quiet shy person. I make it pretty obvious.
And most of the time, like at home stuff is typically just like tea. It's not usually like actual work stuff. It's tea. You got to talk about tea at home. That's just
there's a place and time.
You know what I mean? There's a place and time for everything, and tea is for home.
You're like, I need to talk about this coworker because I'm going to punch him in the face. So
yes, and it's not this one, right? There's so many of them.
Yes.
She has the punch me in the face conversations when she's at work.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and then so Sandra and Mike, because you guys are coming home from totally different things, how does that kind of play out for you guys in that, like what Sandra's coming home from dealing with and what Mike's coming home from dealing with, totally different. So how are you guys able to kind of, it's hard because like, again, like Breanna said, we're all responding to something, right? But like, how do you guys have those conversations without really truly understanding what your spouse is doing every day?
That is a tough one. I think for both of us, because we're both very open about what we're seeing and what's happening at work and in the world around us. And as you're well aware, I'm a huge advocate for mental health strategies. And one of my strategies is communicating with my husband, and I really push him to talk to me about the things that really grind you at work, whether it's a coworker who's driving you up the wall, or something that just some event that's happened that's just not sitting well with you. And we do that when we get home, or at least I do, maybe.
Well, like they say, usually like our first half hour kind of get home is time to vent.
Yeah, we vent, we decompress, because even though we're coming from different first responder worlds, like I'm coming from the policing side and he's coming from fire, it's still very similar. We're still seeing the same things. It's the same political stuff. It's the same types of people in these roles. It's the same people that we're responding to. So we're able to at least share in that.
Yeah.
Well, and as you were saying that too, I'm like, yeah, because I guess like really for the medical things that you were getting called out to, right, which is usually homicides, generally somebody's calling 911, EMS, and it's always fire that's faster, that's getting there, right? So what you're sometimes seeing, Mike's seeing first, and then you're coming in as that, right? So yeah, so you do kind of have that crossover versus the fire. Although I guess you might get called in, maybe if there was like a fire and there's a dead body in there, you might get called in.
Yeah, and even when I was on detachment, like I haven't done my entire career in forensics, but the first 12 years I was on detachment, and yeah, it was, a small community, you're the chief cook or the chef cook and bottle washer, right? So you're the police, the social worker, the nurse, and the firefighter. So yeah, we were, attending those sort of scenes too. So we do have a lot of crossover, I think, no matter what the first responder situation is, whether police, fire, EMS, corrections.
A lot of the same experiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, as long as everyone works together, it flows nicely. It's when you get the one jackass, so you're just like, really, bud, you're not part of the team. How about you fuck the fuck right off? That'd be great.
And see, and that's the person that we come home and we talk about. It's usually like, oh my God, you're not even going to believe this. That's usually where it starts.
Okay, are you guys at the stage now, and it might be easier for Brett and Breanna because they work with the same people, but are you at the stage now that you can come home and you'll say, oh my God, you will never believe what, and before you say the name, the spouse is like, Sam, Joe.
Yeah. Yes. Oh yes, we both know exactly who we're talking about. Yeah.
It's so funny because my husband had texted me and he's something about this. And he's been having some issues with people that he works with. And I was like, I'm sorry, babe, you're going to have to narrow it down because you've been talking about 3 idiots. And I don't know which one. You haven't been specific enough as to which idiot you're talking about today. And he was like, oh, you're right. And so then he gave me a little bit of context. And I was like, oh, okay. I hope it gets better.
Yeah. I think in that realm, like if you really think about it, no matter what your spouse does for a living, it doesn't even have to be the first responder. We're all venting in the exact same way to our spouse when we get home. It's usually, you're not going to believe what this dumbass did.
Yeah. That's a perfect segue into, so Brett and Breanna, you guys said that you guys have some a couple funny stories about like calls you guys have gone to together or things that you've had to like bounce off together. So walk me through a couple of these, because I'm trying to wrap my head around, like, just because Kelly's never been in, like, I don't know what it would be like to have him next to me, because I feel like I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. Just because he's never been there, like, I'm sure he would be perfectly competent and capable, but like, I just feel like I would be like, that's not how we do it. Get the fuck out of the way. What are you doing?
It's super strange because like, the strangest part is having to write the files when we have the same names and we referred everybody by last name. So we have to write our names out in full in caps, and it's really annoying. But no, there's one specific call I'm pretty sure you would remember.
The main entrance call.
Yes.
Buddy came in.
I love that. The main entrance call.
His hood came up like he was fully tucked in like this, and just an absolute hysterics. Like we just heard screaming, and we're both in the office, and the office is like right next to the doors, like office main doors right here.
And it was just one of those calls where like we do this conference call province wide for like all the officers that start out of other areas. So we do like what we're doing right now, but with like a ton of other officers just to share with what's going on in the province. And we do it twice a day, and that's like our pass off. So we're doing that. And you hear like screaming, and you can't just be like, oh, I'm sure they can wait. Like, no, you gotta, oh, sorry guys, gotta go. And so who are the officers that are on? It's obviously us. So we like do the look at each other like, well, I guess we better do this. So you run out and you just start working, and you start giving each other interesting looks because you are married, and then you end up knowing the person, not personally, but in a way of like, oh, this is a regular, if we all know what that is, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those calls where
as soon as we figured out who it was, it's like, oh
no, this is gonna be interesting.
He's a renowned he's not the most stable mentally, is what we'll say.
Yeah.
We deal with him quite a bit because we deal with obviously adult psych, like mostly is what we deal with, is
but a lot of meth, right? Lots of meth. And so we give each other that look of like, oh, it's this person, and you're supposed to be going off shift soon. Let's get this done. Yeah. And so we unfortunately have nursing backgrounds, both of us as well. And so in another addition to our dynamic, we are very,
clinical.
Clinically very light. The nursing staff know our background. So and they of course know that we're married. And so here we are doing a shift change, bringing in said subject who is known to everybody in the ER, right? And we're wheeling him through, and it's the look of like, OMG, what are you doing? Why are you bringing him in right now? And it's like, sorry, the dynamic duo is here to ruin your night. Like, let's go. So we've had lots of calls where like, it's kind of interesting to like look over, because we don't do a ton of calls together. Not a lot happens during shift change, of course, or the other person's like out of their, would you ever call it, the bubble of being at work, right? There's that 15 minutes before and after you shouldn't be doing work anymore. But so not a lot happens, but it's very interesting to be potentially going physical or doing a physical restraint with, the person that you're going home and sitting on the couch with at the end of the day. It's very unique for sure. So
it's also unique in the aspect of like, we work together on the same team and do pass off, but we don't really get to see live in action how we handle specific calls and stressors and situations and stuff. Like, we don't get to see day to day how we actually do things and how we handle, how we talk, how we position, how we do all of that stuff, like all that little minute stuff. Because we're both still relatively fresh in the grand scheme of our careers. But it's just cool seeing the different dynamics, and like, we obviously like each other, so we also work together well as a team. Like, it was even the first time we took the call together, it was kind of seamless. Like, we didn't really have to. There was no awkward like,
who's gonna do what?
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
just do something.
As soon as one of us stopped, the other picked up exactly where we left off, because we both know and operate relatively the same when it comes to most calls.
So, but yeah, it's also very interesting because like, he's a big dude. I am the absolute opposite of a big dude. I'm like 4'11" and he's like what, 6'1", 6'2". So we go into a call together, and if the staff know that it's the married couple, like trying to figure out certain dynamics that way is also super fun, just like you would any other partner. And then being able to, I don't know, have a different type of conversation after, it's kind of fun as well. So
yeah, I like that. Like I said, I think it's that whole dynamic from outside of work that you can bring into work. Same as like, if you have that like partner that is your like ride or die partner, where you stop, they pick up, and they can just go, like, and you can just, like you said, you can just give each other the look across the person that you're fighting with, and they know exactly what the next move is. Or you can look as you're escorting, you can look and be like, yeah, that's where we're going. You don't even have to talk. So I think that,
even to put in perspective too, like the marriage, like having like, say your husband watch you as a female do your physical role at work, I'd imagine that's probably interesting, because for me it is, right? Like, watching him do his job is like, it's a very passionate feeling, right? To see your partner do the same job as you passionately, I guess, right? Like, it's hard to explain, but it's one of those first responder things, but you take even more pride because they're not just your partner, they're your partner in life too. So it's pretty cool.
For, I guess, probably more specifically for me, is like, in any call too, especially with her with me, all of my complacency leaves the window, because I'm on extra diligence, because I have just my instinctual protection nature, right? Of like, this is my partner, but she's also my wife. So I'm extra like, I'm always diligent, but like, there's that secondary classification of, this is like what Breanna just said, she's my life partner. So there's that, like, there's the protection instinct that I can't get rid of. Like, I would never obviously step out of bounds or out of line or anything like that, but the reaction time would probably be a little bit more swift.
Yes. Well, and so that kind of leads me to the question I was going to ask Sandra and Mike, because again, going to totally different careers or jobs or, whatever shifts, do you ever have that sense of worry about, the person and where they're going and what they're doing? And I know that kind of sounds like a really stupid question, because obviously you would.
All the time.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. Yeah.
Not that bad.
So yeah, you know what? I did a couple years on highway patrol. I know what the drivers out there are like, and they see that red flashing lights or the red and blues, and it's like a beacon calling, right? More often there, it seems like it's quite frequent where emergency personnel are being hit on our roadways, because people are so focused on the flashing lights that they run into our first responders who are doing their jobs on the roadways. And that's probably one of my biggest fears is because Edmonton Fire, they do a lot of traffic accident work. And so I know that you guys are, and he knows this is always my biggest fear. And, you know, I'll text him good night when he's on nights and I'm going to bed. And if he doesn't respond right away, I will lay awake for hours until I get his good night, because I'll be like, oh my God, he's been hit by a car. He's fallen through a roof of a burning building. He's, you know, I do. My brain goes there to the worst case scenario all the time. And we have a thing where the beginning of every shift for both of us, we always make sure that we tell each other to stay safe and that we love each other.
Yeah.
I love that. That's adorable. And I think it's like, again, it's just something, and I think, again, most first responders, once you've seen, maybe when you first start, you're kind of like, well, whatever, a little bit laissez-faire. But once you've actually had one of those days where you're like, holy fuck, I almost did not come home from work today. Like that was actually, wow. You really do start to go like, what was the last thing I said to that person? What was the last thing that might, like, for me, leaving my girls, right? What was the last thing? Did we fight in the morning? Now I feel like garbage, because if I had not come home today, that the last thing they would have heard me say was, get your fucking shoes on and get out the door, right? Like, so, you know,
exactly.
So you start to think, right? Like, you always want that last thing to be, I love you, or stay safe, or have a good shift, or, you know, like.
Oh, well, at least now with her in her new role, I don't have to worry as much, right? Because more management side. But before, like, you'd go somewhere and the bad guy's still in the building, or like, that's not cool.
No, totally. Or in the boonies, like, because you used to go like boondocks, like random places.
Out
yeah,
in the middle of nowhere by yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Good times.
Good times, great times. Yeah. That's why we move up. That's why we move up in life, and now we become the staff sergeant. We don't have to go to those places anymore.
Right, and I can work Monday to Friday.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and have a bit of a life. True.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me then, because you guys are making it sound like it's super rosy to work with your spouse, which I think is adorable, or to work alongside your spouse. So tell me, what's a challenge? Like, what's something that makes it harder to do? And we've kind of touched on it, you know, a little bit of that worry, a little bit of that, like, if we're in the same situation, I'm going to be hyper aware. But is there anything else that you find like challenging in both of you being first responders?
Other than our dog whining right now.
Specifically first responders, like, I don't necessarily, like, the most difficult thing, and for me, that we've had to kind of work through was lots of rumor mill drama stuff with our relationship in the very beginning. When I first got on, there was lots of rumors around. Initially it was Breanna, but then as soon as when I got on, like, I can let her talk about that. But us specifically, like, we had a anonymous person that is not so anonymous, we know who it was, but rumor mill that the entire hospital that we work at, like, all of our coworkers were uncomfortable with our relationship, and that we made them uncomfortable when we had worked so hard to set the boundary. Like, we didn't even, at that point when that started, we hadn't even like hugged each other. Like, we were strictly coworkers at work.
The boundaries were thick. Yeah, like, we would address each other for like just no weird names, no nothing. Like, it was just like co-workers, and then this drama comes out.
It's a little thinner now. The line's a little thinner now, but we just bullheaded it. Like, we just approached everybody. It's like, hey, we heard that you guys are uncomfortable. Are you uncomfortable? And they're like, no, where's that coming from? And we asked everybody, and then we brought it to management, and then the day after, all of a sudden, it's done. So we've kind of, any issues that we have, we just kind of, like, we bullhead it, we spear tackle it, we kind of just go at it head on, because kind of dancing around topics doesn't really get anything solved. So
you have to, it's like the seriousness of marriage goes hand in hand with what we're doing at work, right? So, like, if you take your marriage serious enough, you'll do anything to protect it. And so it doesn't stop just because we are coworkers. We almost make it more important at work because it is our careers as well. So we don't want people touching both. Like, there's people that try to get their hands in your careers, and then there's people that try to get their hands in your personal life, and then you start crossing that, It gets pretty intense if you have people that are that malicious around you. And we had someone, like he said, that was kind of crossing that malicious boundary, but it was squashed real quick.
There's the other one as well that attacked you professionally and us.
I think I might have talked about that. It was more
Personally.
of a female and law enforcement thing than a couple thing, but it's pretty crazy. Yeah, there's been some stuff, but it's just spear tackling it or spearheading it like you would anything else if you take your marriage seriously, right? So
I think it's really like what you said there, though, is that's the issue, that is that a lot of people don't face it head on and don't like go like, hey, what the fuck, and go to people and be like, is this what you think? They just kind of like, they take it personally and they go like, they kind of turtle in and go like, oh my God, all these people think this thing about me. And then it just lets it ferment and lets it get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? When if it had been addressed right away, the idiot that's talking shit is going to be put down, and there's not going to be, you know, like there isn't going to be that continuation because he's just been called out on his bullshit. But people let that stuff go, and then it gains traction, and then and once that snowball starts and it's a big one, it's way tougher to stop it. When you can stop it when it's a tiny one, you know, by just like smashing it, then it's good to go. So I think that's a good piece of advice right there, right? Like if whatever issue you're dealing with, if somebody's talking shit about you, or, you know, trying to get their hands in your career or trying to get their hands in your relationship, like that's when you have to like shut it down immediately and just, like you said, take it head on. So Sandra, Mike, have you guys had experience with that or had anything like that happen to you guys?
Not really. I guess, well, maybe it's like nothing quite like that, but I guess a few years ago when there was like that incident back east where those officers were shot, the guy at work started kind of like saying things about police and stuff, and then I kind of lost my shit on him closest way.
That's good though. Like, I guess I think like that's the thing too, right? And like as I was listening to you guys talk, I was thinking of there's that meme where it's like the female and she's got the guy up on her shoulders at the concert. I don't know what it's from, but they're like, yeah, when your husband's a firefighter, and like the female's got the firefighter up on her shoulders. I was like, that's actually totally Sandra and Mike.
Yeah, that would be. But no, I think especially through the last few years with the very strong anti-police rhetoric, and because you know, I'm out there and you know, everybody looks at me and they know I'm a police officer, and I take a lot of slack for that, and a lot of ignorance is directed towards me, and you know, over the like he was saying a couple of years ago, it got so bad that he lost his shit on somebody, on a coworker because they started bad mouthing the police without having any information. And I think he became very defensive, and a few of the other guys too. That's the other thing for me, being a fire wife. The fire community, just like the policing community, they're very, very close knit, and very protective of each other. So a lot of them have taken me in as just one of the fire wives, and I love that. And they're very protective of me as well, and I love it. It's a good group. It's a great group.
That's good. And what about you guys? Do you guys have any kind of funny stories of, you know, either showing up? I mean, probably not showing up to the same call just because you guys are so.
Well, so there's two from when we first moved in together that I think they're hilarious, and they kind of are. The one story, maybe not so much for you. So I used to, when I would be on call, maybe, well, it wasn't at the time. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about right away. So I used to be on call at night when the first time my phone rang in the middle of the night, and Michael had just come off night shifts. So my phone rings at about 2 o'clock in the morning. He jumps up, get dressed, and starts running down the hallway. And I'm yelling, "It's for me." So then he comes back to bed, and
I had a call.
he thought he had a call. So I have to change my ringtone. And another time, because when I was on call, I would keep my gun at home, and quite often, and I'm very responsible, and I always made sure that my gun wasn't loaded and it was locked up properly. But I'd get a call, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'd get my uniform on, put my vest on, my gun belt on, and without thinking about it, because we had I think it was like within the first week of us living together.
First month or so, yeah.
I hadn't even thought about it. and I loaded my gun next to the bed.
Yeah. That's a very distinct sound. I was out of bed very quickly. Didn't know what I had done wrong, but I was apologizing for everything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And you must be a light sleeper because I mean you both
Well,
probably are light sleepers.
Yeah, we're
because-
both light
But
sleepers.
and I'm not a gun guy, but you know that sound right away.
Mhm.
So from then on, I used to keep my gun in another room.
Oh my gosh, Mike, I could just picture you like rolling over like eyeballs wide open. What the fuck is
Oh.
going on?
Terrifying.
Yeah.
And me
Yeah.
going, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Dude, I'm like, go
Oh,
back
boy.
to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, because it was just a matter of habit there.
It's all good now.
Yeah.
Originally we had met, we met through training, and so we're like Michael said earlier, he's in hazmat, and we may not respond to a lot of calls together, but I'm also CBRNE trained, and that's how we met. So there's been a few times where he hasn't responded, but some of his coworkers have responded to calls with me, and they've been able to talk about what I'm like at a scene.
Yeah.
Oh, you get like third party account. Okay.
Yeah.
And what do they say? Because now I need to know. What do they say?
No, they said you're pretty professional, and yeah.
I'm a hard ass when it comes to scenes, so it's done right or get out.
They appreciated that. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's why you're the boss now. That's how you get to be the boss. You got to be the hard ass. Like,
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Well, we've been on for a while. I don't want to keep you guys for the whole night. I know, again, it's precious days off time
This is our
together.
date.
This is
This is
mainly-
date
This is
night.
date. This is date night. We should have had some beverages. God, I failed on that. Damn it. Okay. So before we just wanted to share with our listeners about, being a couple as a first responder or, anything like that. Any words of wisdom? You guys have dropped a lot, but any words of wisdom, anything like that?
Communication is key. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Sandra would agree, but it's
Ye-
like it's the foundation of everything, whether you're a regular married couple with kids in a normal life or you're first responding, working together, or opposite shifts. I think it's like if you're not talking about what you need or want or what you've gone through or any of that, I mean, you're kind of just setting yourself up to fail, really. I mean, I think that's our strongest point of our marriage is just being able to talk about things, whether it's work related or not. I think so.
Yeah, communication is good. Also, like inter-work relationships as well, right? Like because as a dude working with a pretty lady, when she's got a team of a bunch of icky boys, you can it can be like if you don't have good communication with your spouse, it can be really easy to either form some sort of jealousy or resentment towards people
Yes.
because they work with your significant other, when her boys are her boys, like they're brothers at arms, like they're just as much my friends as they are her friends. Like she's got her ride or die partner that she's been working with since she started. And like those relationships don't make me uncomfortable at all because I trust all the people that I work with. And if there's any ill will, like if I get a sketchy feeling or if I'm just feeling off or whatever, then you just communicate. You just talk about it. It's a pretty simple fundamental, honestly. Like everything stems down to communication. Everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Like you've got your work husband, and we joke about that, but yeah.
I have, again, being in a male dominated environment, essentially. I've got many work husbands, but I've always made it a point to make sure that Michael is familiar with who they are. And, I get everybody together and we can see that there's no ill will. We're all just one big happy
friends
brotherhood, right? Like, that's, and I don't really have that jealousy because police just generally aren't jealous of firefighters. So
Wow.
oh, come on, you guys knew that was coming. You knew.
Wow. Holy crow.
I was waiting for it, but I didn't think it would be that perfectly timed. Oh God, I love you.
Oh.
Michael's
can't-
like,
and it-
God damn it.
And it can't come from the bacon bits either. Like we're police officers, so we can't even chirp anybody because like
The bacon bits. I've never heard bacon bits either. That's glorious. That is glorious.
RCMP, you guys are the pigs. We're just bacon bits.
We're just bacon bits.
We just got little
And
sprinkles.
these guys are the hose monkeys.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
man.
you guys are amazing. Okay, that's hilarious. Oh my gosh. I can't top that. I can't top any of that. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I'm gonna wrap up some quick rapid fire questions. I feel like this is gonna be like the wedding game where you're holding up the shoe and you're saying like who is better at what. But we're gonna start off with who is the better meal prepper or chef?
Me.
Oh, Brett.
Me.
Brett,
Not even.
Absolute Brett.
If
Sandra.
Meal prepper.
If it was meal prep and it was up to Breanna, we would have craft dinner and maybe a grilled cheese.
And
if we're lucky.
pizza. And pizza. Leftover pizza.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing
Yeah,
wrong.
there you go.
I wouldn't complain, but I like variety.
I guess it has to be Sandra because Mike gets fed at the hall, so he doesn't even need to meal prepare, right? Like, I mean, remember the bougie firefighters that we have? Yeah, they get fed all the time, and like that I see at Superstore all the time. I'm like, what are you doing? Do you just eat all the time? Is that what you do? And they're like, yes, we meal prep and eat, and then we work out, and then we wait for the call. And I'm like, I picked the wrong fucking profession. Okay, who takes a better care of their uniform?
Breanna.
I take care of both of our uniforms.
I make sure we don't starve. She makes sure that we have uniforms. It's a pretty fair compromise.
Look after my own.
Yeah, we look after our own uniforms, which I try.
does it better?
Neither of us bring our uniforms home, actually. So,
Yeah, not anymore. No, yeah.
Oh, I thought you had to.
well,
bring it here at home.
it's a contamination thing for me, right?
Oh, okay.
Like I don't
yeah.
be bringing a bloody uniform home. So
Fair. Yeah. Keep that at work. Don't bring that home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
my burger.
Yeah. Okay. Who looks better in their dress uniform?
No way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so cute. So cute. Sandra, because you can't see because we're on the podcast. Sandra and Mike pointed at each other and said that they each look better in their dress uniform. And Breanna and Brett were like, "What dress uniform? What are you talking about?"
I was like, at least I have my forge cap. They haven't issued it just yet.
Once I get my training department uniform, I'll have an
There.
epaulette and it'll be
Oh, there you
go.
special and ooh, I got an epaulette. It's so special.
Hey, we're getting them. We got a memo. We're getting dress uniforms in 2045 probably. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's coming.
It's Alberta Health Services. They've said that they've announced all this fancy stuff, so it'll be by the time we retire, we'll have our dress uniforms. Probably.
There you go.
Pretty great.
In time for retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can be buried in them. Perfect. Fantastic.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So Sandra, you picked Mike. Why do you think Mike looks better in his dress uniform?
Damn.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Holy.
Yeah, she's like that hot firefighter. That's mine. He's mine.
That is exactly it. I'm like, yep, that's mine.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love it. And Mike, I'm assuming you picked Sandra because in the Red Surge, like
Red Surge.
wow. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Totally agree. I do think that is one of the like RCMP knocked it out of the park with the dress uniform for sure. Like across the world, like better than anybody else's. Like way better. Okay, last one I have for you, and I might end the date night with a bad one. But who wears the pants in the house?
Sweatpants.
Sandra's.
What pants?
Sweatpants.
I got a blanket around my legs for a reason. What do you mean?
Yep.
I let him think he does.
Oh,
Okay, I love it. I love it. I love it. Sandra's like,
Honestly,
it's really.
we're kind of a pantless household, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
We just exist.
yeah, it kind of depends on what the
Is this where
scenario
we
is.
start talking about how we make the sex work, or?
Yes,
Yeah.
there we go. In episode 2.
In episode 2, we talk about
Yeah,
why we don't wear pants around the house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, you guys. Oh my God. Like seriously, I could talk to you guys all night. So the sex question, are we jumping into it? Are we doing it? Are we doing it? Because I will ask it. I will ask it. Do you get to still have sex with your partner if you both work in a first responder career?
Intentional relationships. Yes.
Yes.
Intentional relationships, quality over quantity.
There we go.
Yes, I love it. See, and okay, now I definitely cannot top that. So I'm going to end it on that one. Quality over quantity. And yes, you guys, this has been awesome. I have had so much fun with you guys. Thank you for giving up your precious, like legitimately precious time to share with me and share with the listeners and to come on and basically talk about all things couples and first responders. Again, like, thank you. You guys are amazing. Any last words for our listeners before we wrap her up? You guys are dead silent. You're like, fuck,
Have a good night.
And,
you're like, we want to go drink beer and relax on our days off. That's what we want to do. Yes.
thank the
Okay,
first
guys.
responder when you see them, because they probably have somebody waiting at home for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's amazing. Look at you. Look at you being so good. Well done. That's why she wears the pants in the house, the sweatpants. Okay, guys. Thank you again. Love you guys all so much. You guys are awesome. Well, that's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in, listening, giving me your time, your energy, and your attention. I completely appreciate it. Make sure you check out our next episode with another badass female first responder anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at bluelinefitnesstesting.com. I hope you stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, and watch your six.